The nation's largest abortion provider is called Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood has been slopping at the federal trough for years. The number it takes out of the federal budget is $300 million, and a lot more from state budgets. But a growing number of state legislatures are making a major change in their budgets, and they're putting an end to funding for Planned Parenthood.
But both sides admit this is only the beginning of the battle over taxpayer money for Planned Parenthood. Charlene Israel has the story.
This summer, lawmakers in North Carolina overrode their Democratic governor's veto and voted to strip funding for Planned Parenthood from the state's budget. The budget states the Department of Health and Human Services may not provide state funds to Planned Parenthood and affiliated organizations. Barbara Holt, president of North Carolina Right to Life, lobbied the legislature for the change. She says there is no reason for the state to subsidize the abortion business.
The majority of Americans really do not want their tax dollars going to organizations that kill unborn children, that perform abortions. And Planned Parenthood is the largest single provider of abortions in the country. They do over 330,000 abortions every year.
CBN News visited this North Carolina Planned Parenthood clinic for reaction to the state's action to slash its funding. They refused to comment. What's happening in North Carolina is part of a larger effort by Republican legislatures nationwide to stop the flow of taxpayer dollars to Planned Parenthood, both on the state and federal level. In Washington, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives passed a similar measure in the federal budget bill, but it failed in the Senate. It's happening on the state level as well. In Kansas, Indiana, Wisconsin, Texas, and New Hampshire, Republican lawmakers have voted to slash funding to Planned Parenthood.
It's just something that I think doorways were opened when the legislature became in the hands controlled by those legislators who consider themselves pro-life.
Steve Aiden is an attorney with the Alliance Defense Fund, a group that monitors sanctity of life issues across the nation. He points to recent undercover investigations by the pro-life group Live Action. The group shot undercover video purportedly showing Planned Parenthood workers working with sex traffickers to provide abortions to underage girls.
They've ignored laws requiring the reporting of sex traffickers and the abuse of minors.
Planned Parenthood brings in about $1 billion a year, but it's still fighting to protect its government subsidies, amounting to millions of taxpayer dollars sent to its clinics every year. Here in North Carolina, Planned Parenthood is set to lose over $400,000. Pro-lifers in the state admit that the battle is far from over and that it won't be easy. Planned Parenthood of Central North Carolina filed suit against North Carolina, arguing that the budget violates federal law and the group's constitutional rights. The battle is underway in other states as well. A federal judge put a hold on Indiana's law denying Planned Parenthood funding through Medicaid until a lawsuit challenging the law is settled. In Kansas, a federal judge blocked a defunding law there, ruling it unconstitutional because it punishes the group for advocating abortion rights. Planned Parenthood argues that if its funds are cut off, poor women will have a harder time receiving health care. Not true, say pro-lifers.
There are many ways that women can get health care, and you know, there are clinics that are springing up all over the communities. So there'll be many ways that people will be helped. I just don't buy into what Planned Parenthood is saying, and neither did the legislators.
We hope that more light will be shed on Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers, and that all of the states will come to recognize that this is not only a waste of taxpayer dollars, but it is immoral, and it's got to stop.
Charlene Israel, CBN News.
All right, Shirley, it's amazing that a group like that would claim they have a constitutional right to get federal taxpayer subsidies. I mean, where do these judges come off thinking that? There is no constitutional right for that, but they find one. I might add, there is a lawsuit going through the courts right now filed by the American Center for Law and Justice on behalf of some whistleblowers who have alleged that Planned Parenthood has been triple billing the government on certain procedures, and that was struck down by a district court judge, and lo and behold, the Ninth Circuit affirmed it, and said the case had to go forward to trial. So that, to me, is a big deal, and the American Center for Law and Justice, fighting for you, is at the forefront. Well, Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Pat, at least 3 attacks in southern Israel today near the border with Egypt. The rare attacks targeted a passenger bus, private car, and a group of Israeli soldiers. At least 5 people were reportedly killed. About a dozen were wounded. The Israeli military says the attackers used heavy weapons like mortars or anti-tank missiles and explosive devices. Israeli security forces tracked down some of the attackers and exchanged fire with them. The Transportation Security Administration has a new body scanning system at airports. It replaces the controversial system that many believe was too invasive. The new software detects metallic and non-metallic items like explosives, but it doesn't capture graphic images of a passenger's body.
It speeds the process up because you're not waiting for the operator that's in the booth looking at the image to radio back to you and tell you the passenger's clear.
The new system shows a generic body outline like the one you see there. Anything unusual, though, will appear as a yellow square. The technology is being used in airports across the country right now. Do cartoons make children crave unhealthy foods? Experts say yes. According to Health Day News, researchers believe using cartoon characters in ads attracts kids, causing them to nag their parents until they get the advertised product. Oftentimes, those are low-nutrition, high-calorie foods. Researchers say that plays a role in America's growing childhood obesity rate. So what can parents do? Well, turn off the TV, they say. Limiting exposure to commercials will limit a child's knowledge of the products. Researchers also say parents should avoid taking their kids to the grocery store. Pat, I've got another idea. How about if parents just learn to say no?
Lee, that's just too hard. I mean, what are you asking parents to do? I mean, that's just outrageous that they would deny a child his whiny desires. But I tell you, you know, this Happy Meal things, a friend of mine started Happy Meals in McDonald's out there in Kansas. And I'm telling you, kids want a Happy Meal. I mean, they see it on, and so what's about a Happy Meal? It's a good way for McDonald's to make money, but I mean, what is the deal? Well, kids want it because they've seen it. I want a Happy Meal. I want to, you know, okay. So I want a dinosaur in my lunchbox, whatever I want. And anyhow, so take away their cartoons. Take away something else. What are we going to do, Terry?
Or just say no.
Just say no. I don't think parents have the intestinal fortitude to say, when a kid is screaming and crying and having a fit, the easiest thing is, okay, kid, watch your cartoons.
The easiest thing is not always the best thing. There's always the walk to the car and no McDonald's today. Next time they figure out.
I had a technique about children having temper tantrums. It was called a cold shower, and it worked wonders, just wonders. Anyhow, I don't know if that's considered brutal or not, but I mean, cold water.
I don't think so. They can't fault you with cold water.
I guess not, but boy, that sure did work. All right, Lee, back to you.
All right, Pat, that was cold water, not waterboarding. Is that correct? Okay, well, anyway. A recent study ranked American 15-year-olds 21st in science and 25th in math compared to their peers around the world. President Obama calls that unacceptable. That's why he's challenging scientists and business leaders to find new ways to engage young people. Heather Sells reports on how Regent University is meeting the challenge this summer.
Science and math educators today say getting kids engaged is not just about feel-good activities. It's about making sure that this next generation is globally competitive.
So what's the best way to teach kids about math and science? It can be as simple as learning how to make ice cream.
It's, again, a great way to show kids physical change, and then they get to eat it at the end of it, which kids love.
The educators at this new math and science camp make no apologies for letting the kids have fun. It's what they want. In fact, they and many other educators around the country believe that having kids actually do something is a great way to introduce content and make that content stick until it's time for standardized tests.
The payback is, if we really want our students to do well on that test at the end of the year, we have to be making sure that they're getting it throughout the year.
To achieve that payback, Regent educators had students conduct a mitten experiment to learn about body heat, design a marshmallow launcher to learn about engineering, and create an explosion with Mentos candy and soda to understand air pressure. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders weren't so sure about the camp starting out, but by the end of the week, the results were clear.
Some kids thought it was going to be really boring and we would wear lab coats and it would be really boring like school, but it's actually a lot of fun.
Besides all the fun, educators also tried to teach the art of asking questions, a must for any good scientist. And they worked to instill a sense of confidence, a stumbling block for many students who consider themselves incompetent in both math and science. The end goal, helping students like Marzer to think about their future.
If I don't make it in football, I'm going to be an engineer. I want to try out for an engineer.
Right now for these kids, it is about fun and games. But down the road, educators believe that will translate into motivated students and eventually a globally competitive workforce. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Yeah, good for them. Good for Regent University, Pat.
I think so, too. As the chancellor thereof, I'm very proud of the work that our folks are doing. And that was a program, by the way, I didn't have a clue about until we did this story, so I'm delighted.
Well, Regent University is a busy campus year-round.
It is, and it's loaded this year. We've got all kinds of undergraduate students.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. All right.
The Obama administration is set to call on Syrian President Bashar Assad to step down. But Assad claims military operations against protesters in his country have ended. Syrian security and military forces are accused of killing more than 1,800 peaceful protesters since March. Many European nations are expected to follow the U.S.'s lead in calling for Assad's ouster. A UN human rights team says the actions may, quote, amount to crimes against humanity. After genocide, that is the most serious violation of human rights. Vanderbilt University now includes pagan holidays in its list of religious holy days. The new holidays were included on a calendar sent to faculty by the Office of Religious Life. University officials say that students can be excused from class to accommodate their religious beliefs. A university spokesman says that they want faculty to be aware of the pagan holidays so that they can be sensitive to student needs. Christmas and Christmas Eve remain the only paid university holidays. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.